All right, everybody, thanks for joining again after lunch. As I said, this session won't be too long, right? We said it would take like 3 hours or so, or 4. That's definitely not the case. I think we can have it done maybe less than 2. Yeah, so the idea of this session, and I have to quickly go through all the slides that we had already because a lot of slides this morning. Okay, so we would like to do 2 things in the hands-on session. First off, we want to have a look at our platform. We call it Istari Markets. Why do we call it Istari Markets? We call it that because it's basically a tool for you to identify markets you're interested in, but markets can be a lot of things, right? It can be a specific type of company, a specific technology, and so on. So what we want to do is we want to have a look at markets. And the cool thing about markets is that it's free to use. So you will have the chance to not only see now how it works, but also later on to use it for yourself. You can already see it on in the URL. It's markets-alpha.istari.ai, which indicates that it's not our final product yet. We are still in a alpha phase for that. So it's more or less an internal thing, but it will be released fully to the public next month, so the month after, in July, actually the beginning of July. Yeah, and so what we want to do here is we basically want to have a look into it together. I want to show you the functionalities. I will maybe also show you the old platform that we have, so the old version as well, because some of the functionalities are still in the old platform. And then so this first part is maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so, I guess. We can have a look into markets. And after that, we will have a look together at a notebook, a Python notebook in Google Colab, where we actually look into a research data set that we have. So this is what we want to do next. Cool thing about this thing is that the data set we have in there, you can also use it afterwards if you want for other things. But yeah, I think the second part is maybe around half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe about that. Okay, then, so I would say let's get started with markets. So let me briefly go into it. So I can show it to you. So first off, you can just type in markets minus. So if you go to markets-alpha.istari.ai, this is what you will find, right? So it's a login page. You can either create your own, you can create an account right away, or what you can also do is you can just sign in with your existing Google account. That's also possible. What I'm going to do now, I will show you input from, or I will show you a version that is not yet released. It will be released later today. I hope so. But I can already give you a quick, let me just briefly see. I can already give you a preview of what we have there. It looks very similar, but it has some new functionality that I want to show you. So what I will do is I will sign in with Google right away. I hope this, because I'm not on my PC, I hope this works right away. Maybe I have to. Okay, it works. Great. So that's the interface that we have. Okay. And so what you can do here is first and foremost, you can search our global database for organizations that are of interest to you. I want to also very briefly show you docs.istari.ai, which is our documentation, right? So if you're interested in, okay, what kind of stuff we have in our data, you can look it up here. So for example, we have a section here for sustainability, which basically again describes to you or explains to you what this sustainability indicator that we heard about several times today is all about, because this is also in the data. You can also use that one. However, I have to mention you that this documentation here is still for our old platform, right? Which is so not everything you can read here right now is applicable to the version I want to show you in a moment, but we thought it makes sense to show you the new platform, which will be the only platform we have, or the only version starting next month or the month after. But what I want to show you is there is one section which says country coverage. And what you see here is actually the number of companies we have in each country. So for example, if we have a look at the United States, there we have 8.5 million companies or 8.5 million organizations that you can search, that you can find stuff out about. And one more important thing, so 62% of those are labeled as active company or active organizations. This basically means that we identified some type or some kind of activity on their websites over the last years, basically. So those are probably companies that are still active, because it can also be the case that we have in these old 8.5 million organizations that we have some that's actually stopped being active. So basically dead companies. This can also happen. Then they turn off their website. Sometimes the website stays on for a while. So we have like 62% of those 8.5 million are active, and 53% we have detailed profiles. And what a detailed profile is, I will show you this now. So what we're going to do is
quick comment maybe.
Sure.
Like for those 40% of companies that are inactive at the moment, or well, that have become inactive, you can still do like the time series analysis. You can still go back in time and take a look at those. So that might still be interesting.
Yeah, thank you. So the comment was that even for those 40% or so that are not labeled as non-active, you can still work with them in time series analysis. So what I want to show you now is the current setup on how you can search companies, right? So that's the new version of the platform. I can very briefly show you also the old version because it's slightly different. So that's the old version and that's the new version. And in the new version, it's somewhat simplified, so you can basically just describe the type of company or type of organization you are using, you want to find. So I can type something like looking for companies that are engaged in GIS technology or geography tech, specifically remote sensing and land use stuff. Okay, so I can really just type in the type of organization I want to find. On top of that, I have a filters button here, and if I click that one, what I can do is I can either choose a location I want to only search in. So you can see here again we have the United States, for example, and then you can say, okay, I want to only find organizations in Massachusetts, and then I can say like Middlesex or Essex or whatever. You can just select them. And what you can also do is you can add additional keywords, right? So you can say, okay, the company I'm looking for or the organization, they have to say a specific keyword like GIS, or they have to say remote sensing. And you can also include blacklist keywords, let's say, some words that they are not allowed to say. So if a company says a specific word, it would be filtered. So, but what we can do now, so I typed in companies that are engaged in GIS technology and geography tech, specifically remote sensing and land use stuff. So let's just search for that. Hope that everything works. So what it does currently is it will only give you back in this version the 25 top hits. Okay, but that's only the case because we're using this similarity search right now here, and this is like the preview version. I will very briefly jump over to the old version and just type in GIS, right, as only a search keyword, and just show you how many hits we would find there. And there you can see we found like 48,000 organizations that say something about GIS, right? That's also a way how to search, but we think the more natural way for most people is to actually describe the type of organization they are looking for. And we can maybe in a second also try your specific case, the companies that or organizations that offer specific mental health services. And so what we have here in this results page is the different organizations that we found, right? And in the not usual version, so I'm wondering why we don't have that many. Okay, usually it also shows the icons here, so the logos of the organizations. I don't know why this is currently not the case. So what we see is we have the domain, right? So we see the the domain of the company that we found here. For example, it's spatialtech.org or globalmappingincorporated.com, redfoxgis.com, and so on. We have the name of the company. So we see this company is, for example, their name is Global Mapping Incorporated. These ones are called Remote Sensing Associates. And then we have a summary, we have an address, and a lot of other stuff. And we can actually, if we click one of those, we can actually get a short summary that is always updated. So it's not like we generate this just once and then it stays there, but instead this summary is updated every time we scrape this website or we scrape this company. We also see that the type is company, and we have different types, right? We have companies, we have academia, we have public, and we will also see this later on in the research data set, that you can also use this for filtering, because maybe you only want to look at companies or you only want to look at academia. We have a location. So this, for example, it's located in the state of Louisiana. We have the geocodes. That's important, right, for all of the geographic stuff we want to do. And then you have different like information about other stuff like products. And this is always only to give you an overview about the company first. So for example, you can see that their main product is comprehensive GIS solutions, including data visualization, analysis, and database management. It's a GIS service, they call it. The type is service and pricing is on request, right? So, and if we look at the other ones, we can see that some of them will have other products. So for example, they offer custom geography, geospatial programming, remote sensing solutions, right? So as you can see, if we click those different companies here, we will have information about them. We have some stuff that may be interesting or maybe not. And just to give you a little bit of a better idea, we will just briefly look at one of those websites. So that's, for example, spatialtech.org, explore the world of GIS, maps, data, and tools. And they offer stuff like, it seems like logistic regressions for GIS, a technical guide. So they doing different things here. Or maybe have a look at Redfox GIS for a second. So they are basically, it seems like they're offering GIS and remote sensing stuff. This is exactly what we searched for, right? We typed in, we want to find companies that offer GIS or remote sensing stuff, specifically with like land coverage. And I think this is also exactly what they offer here, right? They, if we click that, remote sensing. Yeah, so they do like habitat sustainability modeling, they do Landsat, Sentinel. So it's exactly what we were looking for. And there was no need for me to enter any keywords. I was just describing the company, right? I was looking for. So, but let's imagine there's more stuff you want to know, right? So I will briefly jump back to this version here. Zoom out a bit, and let's say maybe you are interested in whether the company has a very specific technology that they are using, let's say LiDAR, for example. And what I can do, and this information is not maybe in this standardized profile, right? Because it just tells us, okay, they have quite a lot of stuff they are offering here, because we just searched for GIS in this version. Maybe what I can do is, and I can actually add another column, we call it an AI column, and we can just ask a question about the organization, and we can say something like, does this organization offer any services, sorry about the typing this because it's an English keyword, services or products incorporating LiDAR technology. And I can say, okay, I want to call this new column, I want to call it LiDAR, and I can add that. And now what I did is I created a new column, and I can now send a AI agent to this website again and answer the question that I have about this company, right? Or what I could also do is I could not just ask an open question, but instead do a classification. So I can think about maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different classes that I have. And then I describe each of these classes very briefly, saying, I don't know, maybe I'm interested in whether it's a consultancy firm or whether it's a like a professional services firm or whatever. I can think about any type of categories, write them down, and then let my AI agent look again at the website and classify them into the distinct classes. Or I can use one of those predefined categories here. So for example, we have company maturity, where we have the classes early stage. So that's a pre-seed to seed funding company. We have growth stage, mature, public, acquired, and so on. So this is what I can do. So I can go here and say, okay, please also classify this one for me. And you can see, for example, here we have an answer. The other ones, it said can't answer, insufficient info. So it didn't find any information that is also somewhat related to my question. And I can already imagine why, because we just searched for the term GIS, and GIS can mean quite a lot of things. If I have a look at this company website for a second, let's see what it is. So you see it's, what do they do? They do something completely different. They do like workers' compensation, group and individual health stuff. So we found this company because we just didn't use a very good keyword. We just used GIS. And then if I ask a GIS specific question, it would tell me, hey, I can't answer this this question because it doesn't really match the content of this website. However, here for the GIS GmbH.ch, we see we got an answer, and it tells us. The question was, does this organization offer any services or products incorporating LiDAR technology? And it says yes. The company offers services that incorporates LiDAR technology. Specifically, they utilize 3D laser scanning technology to capture objects three-dimensionally, producing point clouds and so on. And we can also maybe briefly have a look at their website. So it's in German. We can just translate that for a second if it works. Yeah. So when you can see they're offering 3D laser scanners. Actually, I guess it's 3D laser scanning. Yeah. So you can see this is basically what they offer, right? It seems like they are scanning. They're doing outdoor scanning, and this is something we also have in this answer now. And I also did the classification here, and it says this is a mature company. So it's not really a startup or anything. It's a company that is already more mature. But this is just one idea on how you could classify the companies, right? And maybe one more thing before we go into a more specific search from the group. I just want to briefly show you that you can also just type in a reference company. So for example, Istari.ai would be my reference company. And then I say, hey, please help me find 25. As again, we find many more, but right now we are only showing the top 25. Find me the top 25 companies that are similar to Istari. And then you can see the top company is Istari.ai. The company itself makes sense, right? Because the most similar company to Istari in our data set is Istari. Second one is Comparables AI. And we can have a look at just their website. So you see they do AI-powered company and market intelligence. So it's very, very similar to what we do, right? I mean, we know them, and we know they have a slightly different focus, or they have a different focus somewhat, but their approach is very similar to what we do. And they also have similar wording and stuff like that. So just wanted to show you that you can basically use a reference company to find similar companies. Okay, so maybe you could just very briefly repeat. So so you're interested in organizations that do mental health, specifically bipolar disorder. Okay, so then I would say I'm looking for companies or research institutes, hospitals that are specialized bipolar disorder. So yeah, let's first just search this and let's see what we find. I mean, this is also quite new for me, this feature with this, we call it semantic search, where you type in something and it gets you the best hits. It's new to us also. But the first one is, for example, bipolardisorder.me. You can just briefly have a look at the website, which usually gives you a good idea about what they do. Seems to be okay. So it's a company founded in 2015, right? Professor Ann Mutch We can also look at our profile real quick. It's a non-profit organization founded in 2015, dedicated to supporting individuals experiencing manic depressions and their families. Company focuses on funding scientific research, providing educational and so on. They are located in England, Bloomsbury, Camden. We have the exact location. We see that products they offer, all services, they even have prices there. It's you can get a consultation with Benjamin Much, for example, costs you £180. You can also have a 30-minute follow-up consultation for ongoing support, also with Benjamin Much for like £60, right? So pretty specific. And we see the director is Benjamin Much. He has a PhD. He's a PhD candidate in psychiatry and personal survivor of bipolar disorder, and also his, I don't know, mother maybe, Professor Anne Much, who's a neurobiology research scientist with a focus on manic depression, right? So already some pretty interesting stuff, right? And before we go into the like the search where we focus on a specific region, we could now add a question, right? We could do some classification. We could say, okay, then we would say precision medicine. So I would say this company uses precision medicine in their treatments of bipolar disorder, right? Disorders. And then I could just say yes. Say okay. This company uses precision, and then the second one would be no. This company does not use precision or does not mention anything related. That would be my second, right? I say okay, classify. Then I can go ahead and say classify. I can also, by the way, I can also select several of them and then say bulk classify. So let's see. So those are all no. Let's have some of them. You see, we found one, by the way. The psychiatrycenter.co.uk and the Bipolar Lab. They say Bipolar Lab specializes in the treatment of bipolar disorders and related mood disorders, offering a comprehensive range of services, including advanced diagnostics and symptom monitoring programs. They specifically mention the use of metabolic and DNA assessment programs, which align with the principles of precision medicine by tailoring treatments based on individual genetics and metabolic profiles. Seems to be a good hit, I guess. Right, let's have a quick look at their website.
This is actually really good.
Nice. So you see, we just found one, right? It was quite easy, I would say. And now let's see, because I basically pushed back the location filtering because I'm not 100% sure whether it works in this new version, but let's see India. Where's India? It was an Indian region, right? We wanted to look at. It's also not well sorted here. Tell me if you see India. Here, there it is. India. Okay. Let's see. As I said, I'm not sure whether it works. Maybe we have to switch back to the other version, but I think Manav said that it's okay. I think there. Yeah, but I think it broke that one. Let's do a little bit of a different approach. That's only because the geofilter doesn't work in this new version yet, but we have it here. We can actually do it like this.
This is the old version.
Yeah, that's a little bit older version. We use Bipolar Lab. We found them and we said, hey, that's a good hit. We can use this as a reference. And here the location filter should work. Let's have a quick look. Yeah. So let's see. find any good results. Okay. Okay, so we have Manav. Manav, it's perfect. It's the guy we were just talking about. Manav Neuropsychiatry Hospital. They are located in Kerala, first floor above HDFC Bank. And it's a leading inpatient psychiatric center established in 2023, dedicated to providing innovative mind care solutions on acute psychiatric cases. So what we could do now is we can also add a keyword, I would say. We can say, hey, it must include bipolar. Okay, so hey, it needs to definitely include bipolar. Let's see what we find. Okay, only one then, not that many. So let's have a look at the website. Okay, do you know them? It's elmonk.com. So they are, let's have a look at this. They say it's specialized services in mental health, learning and enhancement, psychological assessment. The center caters to children, adults, and senior citizens. They are located in Kerala, and they say, you see, they have different, they even have different like centers, so different departments they have, not so much else.
Out of 25, how come it became just one for bipolar?
Because we said, hey, it needs to be in the region, right? And they need to say bipolar, and it seems like this word bipolar is pretty rare there. So
then how did they find that this 25?
Because before we said, hey, we just it's just similarity, right? So you can actually see this here. So they are sorry for the jumping around. So here, this one, for example, that we found, it's definitely similar, right, to the one we are looking for, because it's a psychiatry, right? But they do not specifically seem to say something about bipolar, right? Maybe it's in their portfolio somewhere, right? At least they are very similar, but it doesn't seem like they are talking specifically about bipolar disorders. However, there's one that's a general thing with the Indian data that we have, and maybe Sebastian, you can say more about the Indian-based data, because it's not our best, right? I think.
No, it's not, unfortunately. So there's the problem that you have there. I mean, it depends a bit on what you want to do, but often the addresses are quite lacking. So there would be I had a lot of companies that just had address Mumbai, for example, which in the case of this geo analysis is a bit difficult. And then also a lot of the firms, I mean, there are a lot more firms that we do not know their domains, basically. But I mean, what we can always do is also, if we know names or locations of firms, then figuring out the domain, that's also something that's also possible technically. I mean, depends on the data.
You also see it here that we have, for overall India, we just have 280,000 companies or organizations, and only 66% of them are active. So this is like, how much is that? Maybe so like 160 companies, 160,000 companies in a country like India. That's not a lot compared to, like, we have 3 million in Germany. So the data quality in India is, just from the base data, is not our best. That's because, and I think Devika, we also talked about that. So it's in India, it's pretty difficult to find good data from, for example, commercial registers on actually what companies exist. So it's a little bit difficult. However, I have to say, it's also our first time we do something in India. And then if we do something there, then it's usually what we can always do is we can try to enrich the data set, right? So, and I think this became pretty clear, because in other regions, we find a lot of such companies that are specialized in bipolar disorders and that work in this area. But now in this specific area of India, in this specific region, we only find one, right? That is exactly for what you were looking for. And yeah.
Can we try in Massachusetts?
Sure, we can do that. Let me just briefly see where we were. We were here. No, we were here. Sorry, I have to close some tabs. So let's go remove this one. And let's have a look at United States. Yeah, we will have a lot, I guess, because our US data is pretty solid. Did it update already? Yeah. So, and then we say only with bipolar. So this is now only the top 25 companies, right? We have more. So here we have MAD in America Foundation, dedicated to exploring the intersection of science, psychiatry, and social justice. It offers a variety of resources, including personal stories, research, news, and so on. So let's have a look what they do. Okay, this is basically more like a information provider, right? But you are interested only in hospitals, or sure that we can do this as well. Then I will do must include it must include bipolar, and it must include precision medicine, right? This. Also the thing, okay, so here we have Mind Blue AI. So let's have a look at them. So Revolutionary Predictive AI is a digital medtech company that develops personalized and predictive clinical scores combining physiological measurement from outpatient and artificial intelligence. I guess that's a pretty good hit, right? The Broad Institute, sure, we know that one. Fulcrum TX, Fulcrum Therapeutics. So they are a company dedicated to improving the lives of patients with genetically defined rare diseases. Company focused on developing small molecules to address high unmet medical needs. Also seems to be pretty spot on, I guess. Modulating gene expressions to treat the root cause of genetically defined diseases, right? I mean, the thing is, in this, and I think it's a good idea to, in the next step, go to the research data, because here, if you search, I mean, this is basically just, it's more or less the free version of what we can do, right? You can search and everything. The thing is, some of these websites, they are pretty big, right? So some companies only have websites with maybe, let's say, 5 to 10 sub-web pages, right? Like our products, our services, and so on. Others, like especially hospitals, for example, they may have tens of thousands of sub-web pages, and they have a lot of different things they do. And maybe somewhere very hidden, they say something about the stuff that you are interested. And then in this version, you won't find it right away. So this is why for specific tasks and research purposes, for example, we then concentrate on one, for example, on Massachusetts, and then do a very like deep scraping on top of it, where we go up to like 10,000 sub-web pages per company, and then really search for those things. So this is really like the first step that you can do to check for different companies and see what's actually happening in a specific field. And then if you are really like sure what you want to search for, then it's usually a good idea to talk to us, and then we will actually generate a proper data set, right? But I think this gives you an idea of what you can do actually, right? So now we found like 5 organizations in Massachusetts that actually do exactly what we were looking for, right? So they are similar to this one company, to Bipolar Lab. That was our initial starting point. And they are also talking about precision medicine and bipolar. You also have to add that precision medicine, maybe some call it a little slightly different. Maybe some call it, I don't know, customized medicine or DNA medicine or whatever. So this is usually you have to have a little bit of a feeling for what you're searching for, and then try different keywords and so on. Right? This is also why we try to push really for this specific thing here, where you can just describe it. I mean, we can maybe one last try here. Companies that offer precision medicine treatments for bipolar disorders. Okay. Let me just very briefly see what they usually also say. They say genetically therapeutic. Yeah, okay, I think it's fine. Okay, I think you find pretty good examples, right? Just by describing it. The thing is, currently, as I said, sadly the geofilter doesn't work in this version, but you find pretty cool, pretty good stuff here. There is a psychiatry, holistic and interventional treatments. Yeah. There you get ketamine for you. Yeah. So I personally, I'm pretty happy with the results in general. AI-driven precision medicine for complex chronic diseases. So, yeah. Okay, then I would say let's close this down mostly, and let's have a look at the research data set to show you. Okay, perfect. So who of you is familiar with Python or works with Python from time to time? Any of you sometimes? Yeah. No, not really. Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay. So so what this is here, that's a Python. It's a notebook, right? Where we now want to go through a typical exemplary workflow on how to work with some research data that we have created. So it's not working on this platform that we just showed you, but instead, if we work together with our research partners, mostly this means that we create a specific data set for the specific use case, specific research question that they have. And then we send it to them and they can do whatever they want with it. And this research data set, usually what it contains is information. So every line is one organization, and then every column is one information. So usually what we have in there are the geocodes, so you know where the company is located. You have all the information I just showed you in this thing. So you have the name, you have the domain, you have the summary, you have additional stuff that we don't show here. That's always included. Then usually you have all of the website texts included if you want to, right? So not just the summary, but all of the text. And we usually provide some of the indicators that we have, like the sustainability indicator if you want to have it, or the innovation indicator and so on. And what we have here, I will just run this. So what we have here is we have prepared a research data set which includes all companies from Massachusetts, or all organizations from Massachusetts, I should say. I think those are about 200,000 or so, with all the information I just said. So let's see that I hope it works. Okay, yeah, perfect. So what we do now is we load the data set. Just allow it to do it. It's me, because I'm not on my own PC. Continue. So, and we can also later, so you can either download the data set directly from our Google Drive, or we can also send it around later if you want to. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. Maybe that's because of the internet connection. I don't know. Okay, but it did work. And let's have a look. So what I do here is I just randomly sample 5 observations in the data set, and just want to see the name, state, region, summary, B2X, and type column. Okay. And what you can see is we now sampled 5 random companies. All of them are companies, actually. Maybe let's sample again. Maybe we have also something else, not only companies, but most of them are companies actually in the data set. Okay. There we have one public. So here, for example, one public observation, we have the town of Agawam, I don't know. It's in Massachusetts, in Hampton, and it's the municipal government located in Massachusetts, dedicated on providing essential services. It's a B2G focus, so it's a organization that mostly does government stuff, let's say. We also have the Prisoners Legal Services of Massachusetts. We have a law firm. We have Papers PPS, that's a digital marketing agency, and we have Home Care Express. Okay, so we have all of those different different companies here. And now what we can do is maybe we first want to have a look at the types of observations we have in the data set. And what we have here is, you can see like 96%, 97% of the observations in the data set are companies, right? That's pretty normal, I would say, all around the world. That's pretty normal. I would say in the US, it's even, the share of companies is even higher. In Europe, you have some more others. We have like 2,000 other types. Those can be everything from NGOs to, I don't know. We have around 1,100 public and 274 academic organizations. Okay, so that's in the data set we provided. And now this data set is open to any kind of stuff you want to look at. So the first thing we do here is, for example, have a look at the regions that are present in the data set. And here we can see that 26% are in the Middlesex County. I think this is the one for Boston, right? I guess so. Middlesex is, I think, Boston. And you can see, so those are the different regions that we have in the data set. And one thing we could look at is exploring AI companies in Massachusetts, but we could also look at sustainability companies or whatever. For this example, we said, okay, let's have a look at the AI companies that we have there. And for this, we will use our AI intensity score. Before we learned about the sustainability intensity score and the blockchain intensity score that Sebastian showed us. And this is exactly the same for AI. So it tells us whether and how much a company is focused on AI. So there's some stuff here. And if I run this one, we basically first see, okay, how many observations have AI intensity 0 or no information at all in the data set in 2024, because I will very briefly go up for you to see that. If we have a look, it's a little bit not so nice displayed here. A sec here. So those are all the columns that we have in the data set. And the cool thing is, if we go over here, you can see we have an AI intensity from 2013 up to 2024. So we have basically a time series data set, right? So we know for each of those observations in our data set, we know what the value was in 2013, whether they were engaged in AI or not, and how it changed over the years. So that's one thing we can have a look at. This is exactly what we want to do here. So first off, we had a look at 2024, and there in total, only like almost 98% of the companies in 2024 in Massachusetts had nothing to do with AI, right? So no real AI focus or anything, which makes sense, I guess, because most companies still are not like AI focused. Only a few of them are. And what we could do then is maybe have a look at the distribution of the AI intensity in our region. And so you can see that for those companies that have an AI intensity of greater than 0 in 2024, this is the distribution. And you can see that the vast majority have a very low AI intensity, right? Most of them have very low, and only a few have a very high AI intensity, indicating that AI is really at the core of their business activity, let's say. Okay, so they have a very high AI intensity. So I think Istari, I think we have an AI intensity of 1.5 or so in our data, I think. And let's say a consultancy firm that has some consultancy stuff going on where they consult about AI, but that's just one of 10 topics. They maybe have something like 0.2 or something like that. So this is what we see here, that most of the companies are pretty close to 0. And what we can do now is we can have a look at how this changed over time for different types of organizations. And what we see here, we start in 2013. And in 2013, public, other, and company type organizations, they had a very low AI, a share of observations that had some AI intensity greater than 0. So something to do with AI. Most of them are very close to 0. So it's in total, almost no companies, other or public, had anything to do with AI. However, academic back then already had more than 2%. So this basically tells you that back in 2013 already in the Massachusetts area, more than 2% of the companies or of the academic institutions were engaged in some type of AI research, like doing AI stuff. And then you can see over time, over the last like 10, 12 years, how this changed. And you can see that academia definitely rose, right, from like 2% to almost 8%. So now about 8% of all institutions do something with AI. On the other hand, companies, for example, as I said, they started out at maybe 0.2%, and now they are well above 2%. And you can also see that there is a difference between companies and public organizations, for example, right? So it basically shows you there's a spread in the use of AI between the different types of organizations. And that's something that we do not only see in types of organizations, but also usually in terms of geography. So that some regions started quite early on to adopt AI technology and are now very much concentrated, or they have a lot of AI companies and others don't. So there's definitely a discrepancy in terms of regions, but also types of organizations. So that's the first insight. And now what we could also do is we could explore what the AI companies actually, what are the important keywords that describe our AI companies. So what I do here is I basically say, okay, I want to look at 3 types of AI companies, those that have between 0 and 0.5 intensity, between 0.5 to 1, and the ones above 1.0, right? So different types. And what I did is I basically created 3 word clouds for the ones with the low intensity, medium, and high, to see what are the most relevant words to describe their business activity, right? And just by looking at it, I would say there's not so much interesting stuff going on just by looking at, I mean, here we have words like AI solutions, automation, innovation, service, technology, machine learning, cloud, consulting, data. And in the low category, it's about education, also innovation, solutions, services, management, business, technology, healthcare, automation. Gives you a little bit of a feeling, but I would say it's pretty fuzzy still. So I guess we have to get a little bit deeper into that and instead have a look at the different organization types again. So again, we look at company, academic, public, and other, and only look at those that have AI intensity of larger than 0.5, okay? Just to remind you, larger than 0.5, those are only those companies here, right? That are really concentrated on AI and not just doing a little bit of AI. And there, we can see that in academic, it's mostly about education, innovation, research, diversity, inclusion, right? So they have different topics compared to companies where it's mostly about automation, data, solution, innovation, also healthcare again. And in public, it's about programs, education, night degrees, universities, scholarships, public, and so on. And for the others, it's about impact, artificial innovation, sports, also mental stuff, social startup, virtual. So this is like the NGOs more or less talking about AI. This is academia talking about AI, or into the academia organizations that are into AI, companies, and public. And we can even go deeper into that by saying, hey, what about if we run a simple clustering algorithm to see what kind of interesting AI clusters we have within those, not divided by type of organization, but just by the contents in general. And what we get here is, now I said I want to have 10 clusters, but you can also, I said number of clusters 10, but you can also say I want to have 20 clusters, 5 clusters, whatever. And we can see first cluster here, for example, is the important keywords are defense systems, operational science, processing life, and so on. And then we have others that are, for example, cluster 7 is talking about marketing, customers, AI solutions, engagement, and so on. And maybe I want to have a label for each of these clusters. And for that, I will use a something it's called Open Router. It's pretty cool. So Open Router is a service, a website where you can use all the different models that are out there, all the different LLM models via an API. and you just you basically pay in advance. You can maybe send like $5, for example, and then you can use up $5 worth of LLM for all kinds of different models, right? So you see you have OpenAI, you have Meta, Mistral, which is a European model, you have the Chinese models, you have all the models here that you can use. And this is exactly what I do here. So what I did is I said, okay, I want for an open router, I want to use the Mistral model, which is a new European model. And what I do now is I basically feed in the keywords that I have created from those clusters, and I told the LLM to generate some titles for those clusters for me, right? And it said, okay, the first cluster seems to be about aerospace defense solutions. The second cluster is about tech business solutions, eye care services, AI drug discovery. Going back to your topic, by the way, just popping up here. AI-driven property optimization, digital business transformation, online gaming and marketing, AI-powered marketing, AI and healthcare, innovative learning community. And now what we can do is we can also, sorry, then I have to run this again. So what we can do now is we can have a look at the distribution. So we see that 107 organizations in Massachusetts were allocated to the AI healthcare innovation cluster. Then, for example, smart home AI, we have 46. And by the way, now they are a little bit different than before because I just ran it again, and then it's a clustering algorithm. There's a little bit of a randomness in it. But now we can see how they distribute basically. And we can also create some word clouds again to get a better idea of what these clusters are actually about. So this takes a second. So it's a little bit small. Okay, I think you can. So basically the AI powered, or let's have a look at the, which one is interesting. For example, here, the smart home AI stuff, there it's about AI and data, makes sense. Then we have home, for example, technology, automation, real-time efficiency, smart home, right? So those are the words that are used by the companies that are engaged in AI in the field of smart home AI. In AI healthcare innovation, it's about technology, healthcare, patient research, community health solutions, and so on. And you can basically see, so those are some of the clusters, of the topic clusters that we have in Massachusetts when it comes to AI companies. And what we can do next is, because we have the cluster color map, it's not defined. Let me just briefly check that. Color. Okay, so defined. Let me just briefly debug that one.
Should be from the first block, right? From your notebook.
Say again?
Should be from the first block of your notebook where you have the color definitions.
Is it
that
there?
just takes the color, I think.
Is it from there? I don't. From this one, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, but I guess it's just missing.
Yeah.
But doesn't it just define color?
Yeah, I think it's just defining the color, so okay, I can just say black, I guess.
Yeah, might work.
Is it here? Yeah. So what I did now is I basically took the data that we have and I just plotted it, right? And now I can zoom into any area of Massachusetts and have a look at this one, for example. Here we have Empress Therapeutics. So it's a company, right? Going for B2B and B2C stuff. They have a medium AI intensity and they do drug discovery, genetics, AI, small molecules, biotechnology, chemologics, synthetic biology, and so on. And it's a biotechnology company that revolutionizes drug discovery. So you see, we basically said, okay, they are in the AI-powered solutions cluster. right? And what we did now in this like short notebook here is we loaded the data from Massachusetts. We did a little bit of exploratory data analysis, just looking in, okay, what type of companies do we have? What are they, where are they located? Then we said, okay, let's have a look at the AI intensity in 2024. We checked, okay, how did this change over time? We did a very simple cluster analysis and we plotted them. And this is just to show you what you could in theory do with the data, because this is just one topic, but you can go for any topic that is of interest for you, for any type of technology, for any type of stuff that is of interest to you. It's very easy to identify the companies most of the time, and then you can do everything from time series analysis to geospatial analysis, right? So as I said, just a brief introduction. The data set behind that is, as we said, is free to use, so you can use it. It's like 200,000 observations from Massachusetts with the summaries, the keywords, and all of the indicators. So I think they're in there. We have, let's briefly check it. So we have AI intensity. We also have sustainability in there. You can work with that one. And I think we also have blockchain. It's in there. So you can also look at blockchain companies in Massachusetts right away, and digital health. That's another one. So we also have a digital health indicator. So, but as I said, that's just an example data set. And if you're interested in using data like that in your research, just get in contact with Sebastian. And we can basically compile a custom data set for your research for you that you can use globally, right? So, and I think that's it from my side. And lastly, Devika will also tell you us a little bit in the end.
Do you have my slides there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My session is a little bit short, but it's important because I think if you are here, you somehow work with spatial data or have been following CGA for your research. So I mainly wanted to talk about our collaboration with Istari and how you can access their data set and what we have been doing at CGA for using their data set, which might give you some ideas of how you can incorporate that in your research too. So this is one of the workshops that you are attending today, and this workshop will be made available open access on YouTube. For those of you who are online or who have not been able to attend, we'll get the workshop out on YouTube. And then with Istari, we plan to continue doing the user training and enablement of Harvard users so that you can learn this data set and you can start using the software. And we plan a couple of trainings we will plan in future, but we have one upcoming in our conference, in the peak conference workshop on May 22nd. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper, especially into the use cases, then please come on May 22nd for the pre-conference workshop on Thursday morning. And also we have a presentation which specifically describes air pollution and environmental use of this data set, which we will present in our conference. So this is the use case which I have been working with Istari on, and it focuses on firm sustainability analysis in India. Our key focus is how the environment and sustainability have a correlation or they link, and I know that this is one of the key areas that many of my colleagues here have been working on, engaging in sustainability and the environmental data. So our objective is to do firm level sustainability analysis of companies using the web AI data, and we merge web AI data from Istari with a couple of other geospatial data sets, and we do it for India, but the idea is to expand it to the global south and other areas. And my colleague has already described, Sebastian has described what are the details of this of this use case, but we will present our preliminary findings in the conference talk on 23rd. And one of the key things which I have found with this data set, it allows you to do a very fine-grained granular analysis. So as we are seeing that geospatial is moving more towards big data and AI-based data, and which helps us to do more fine-grained analysis. So this is one of our objective in this paper, is to show how you can do such fine-grained analysis using the web AI database of Istari. And I have also provided the link to the conference workshop, the conference talk on this use case. For those who are interested, please use this link to see the time and the session details. And the other proposal which we have been working with Istari on is for our NSF Industry University Consortium. And this one is looking into standards for global knowledge transfer. So for those of you who are working with standards and standardization process, this might be an interesting use case to follow. And we are particularly trying to see how the scientific knowledge and the dissemination and transfer of knowledge is happening through standards. And what is the role of standards in the knowledge transfer process? What are the factors which are influencing this, and what are the implications? So our web-based analysis of standard is what we are trying to use in our project here. So this is another use case which we might come out with more papers in future, but something for you to follow. And finally, I think this is a very important part. I hope you loved what was described today and the use cases. So a normal question is how you can start using this data set, or how you can get the real hands-on the data. So I have provided a link to the website. The details are on our website. So if you go to this page, on our website, you will see a section which is called licenses, and under licenses you will see software licenses, and there you find Istari, and we provide the link to the company webpage and all the details of what the company provides. And then we also provide a link to the contact form which you can fill in to get access to the data, or to talk to my colleagues from Istari to understand more if this is the right data set for your research. So please feel free to reach out to us on the CGA contact form, and we would love to hear from you. And I will be reaching back to you guys who are on the online as well as who have come in person to provide to get you a workshop feedback form. So please let us know your feedback, and that can include what you liked about the workshop, what you think we could incorporate for the next workshop, and what are the use cases you would love for us, or you would like to work with us to explore using this data set. Thank you very much for coming.